So congratulations. We are at the very last episode and module of Filmpreneur. Filmpreneur being the place where we're talking about making really positive change happen with our filmmaking skills by creating sustainable and profitable business. So this is the last episode. I hope that your mind is inspired and filled with different concepts of where you're going to take your film company and the impact it's going to make in the world. And that was the whole purpose of this, is really to inspire all of us as film professionals to use our gifts to make more of an impact. And the Filmpreneur is making an impact in the economy by supporting really good businesses that are making massive change in the world. So what do we talk about? We used my personal story in building Hemmings House into the social impact company it is today. We used it as the story arc. And you can borrow that model. It's at first it feels kind of weird talking about yourself, but the number one story that you know the most, that you're most comfortable talking about, is your own story. So none of this has been scripted. I've got a few different points on my computer that I reference every once in a while, but none of this is scripted because I know my story. I know our story. I know our corporate story so well. And at every single chunk of our story, every slice of our story, there's massive learnings. So think about that too as you are growing your business, as you're growing your brand, sharing your story in different ways, how it relates to different aspects of your business, whether you're talking to a prospect or as you're trying to hire some new talent or create a new partnership. Owning your story, knowing your story, sharing your story is critical. And you've just witnessed how I've been able to do it myself, throughout this course. It's been very, very easy and fulfilling and fun for me to take you through that whole process and share with you the learnings that I've had in building Hemmings House into the positive social impact company it is today. We also talked about the feature film world and the old model. 2018, at the end of 2017, things started to unravel in Hollywood where that old behavior, that old manipulative power struggle, and the gender inequality and disrespect in the old Hollywood model started to derail and untangle. And this is a really good thing, in fact. And I talked about my experience in that, and my experience was far less negatively impacting on me than I'm sure so many other people have had. But I got a taste of it. I got a real significant taste of it. And it was that negative experience that really inspired me to find a new model and create a new type of industry, a new type of film industry, if you will. And it's been really interesting to look at that way because sometimes the negatives and the challenges in life are the things that so much beauty comes out of. As long as you're resilient and you're able to get up and learn and be able to figure out what you want to change. And I want you to borrow that model too. Look at parts of the industry that you're working in, or part of the community you're working in, or even part of the sector that you're serving. What parts of it need to change? What parts of it need to evolve? How can you be part of that story? How can you, with your film company, adjust that and really make change that way? Episode 3, I talked about my adventures in the Caribbean on the Aventour, a place where I was really able to find myself and learn about what a triple bottom line business is all about. Because if you remember, I lived on this boat that was completely powered by wind. It was a small profitable company. It was a company that was put together not as a not-for-profit, but one to make money, but it was doing it to serve people because Captain Paul had a love for people. And it's the way he was able to honor people and the planet and make profit at the same time really inspired me in that adventure in the Caribbean to create a business that does the same, which, this is years before I understood what a B Corporation was. I was living and working on a triple bottom line company on the Aventour on that sailboat. Module 4, we talked about the startup years, and really reflecting on those bumpy and exciting times at the very beginning, and we've talked about some of the real easy mistakes to make at the beginning. Some of them like not having the appropriate supports around you, whether that's legal or financial. Some of it, waiting through that opportunity to have partners or not. And if you're going to have partners, how do you start up your company in a way that when you exit each other's partnership, which will most likely happen at some point, you do it in the most kindest and respectful way. And there was a lot of great learnings in that. And remember, as you go through your startup experience, you now have a community of all of us here in Filmpreneur to share that startup story with. Because every time we share our stories with each other, other people can learn. And that's what this whole thing is all about. So It doesn't matter where you are in your startup story, or maybe you've been doing your company, building your company for the last 3 or 4 years, and you're not a startup filmpreneur. You've got far more things to add and experience. You need to engage in the community in the private Facebook page. Share this, blog about this. Your knowledge is critical for other people's learnings. We also talked about in Module 5, went into deeper elements of partnerships. I just touched on that on episode 4 as well. But it's really special to have partners, and you can really build some amazing things with great value with partners. So I don't want you to not consider that. Just be very, very careful when you do that. As a sole proprietor, just recognize that you are not only in control and you can enjoy the benefits of decisions and steering the company in the direction that you want, but you are ultimately responsible for any of its liabilities as well. So just be very careful with that. And if anybody has any stories of going bankrupt, or companies failing, like the company I told you that I bought and then I failed, share that information. It's all about being vulnerable here as well. We can't learn from each other unless we're vulnerable and talk about the fails. We never want to celebrate fails, but we always want to reflect on fails and discuss fails and make sure talking about failing is not a scary thing. We should celebrate the people, those of us who actually are willing and vulnerable enough to share their fail stories. I think that's a really important thing. Trust me, I am riddled with fail stories. I got tons of them. And that's why I wanted to build this course too, to share some of them with you, along with some of the wins as well. Sometimes it's really tough to celebrate wins for artists and entrepreneurs. Sometimes we're really hard on ourselves, but sometimes it is critical. I don't want to say sometimes. It is critical to celebrate wins, especially with your team. Whenever you win a big contract, or whenever you deliver a film on time, on budget, whenever you've got a film screening of your latest documentary, you got to celebrate the wins as much as analyze the failures and the challenges. I also talked about in Module 6 about us breaking into the TV world. Many of you perhaps are building companies that are strictly for TV or theatrical film. That's really cool. Some of you are only building companies that are for the commercial sector and the corporate sector. That's really cool too. For Hemming Subs, we've blended television, broadcast television, social impact documentaries, and commercial corporate. So in our model, we really see a lot of positive social change happening from our original content that we distribute around the world on TV. That's a lot of soul-filling projects. But really, our economic driver is commercial corporate. That's our model, and that might not be the model that works for you. But note that the TV industry is a completely different beast than the commercial industry. Different types of players, different ways you pitch, different types of competition. There's a lot of original content creators that are trying to grab the same small pot of money. It's a whole different dynamic. I didn't even talk about that in that section, but it is something to be wary of. It is a tough slog going into the traditional TV and Hollywood theatrical route, but it's very fulfilling at the same time. Much quicker road to cash going commercial and corporate. And if you can do it in a way that is that you're full of integrity and that you are serving your soul as well as the soul of the people that are working with you in the commercial space, then you're doing okay, because you're building a life and a company in the creative space of being a filmmaker. And that's what being a filmpreneur is all about. We also talked about building my company, The Hemmings House, and really, as a company grows and ebbs and flows, you end up hiring people, you end up laying people off. It's a big emotional roller coaster when you're building a company, and there's a lot of people, a lot of souls and spirits at stake when you hire them, and you really have to take every business decision based on love when you're involving other people's lives. So it's a very heavy responsibility when you hire people and when you have employees. So I told you a little bit about that, and feel free anytime to reach out and discuss as you're growing your company. Is this the right time to bring in a full-time team member, or should I continue with freelance models? And then in episode 8, we talked about thought leadership. How do we grow our businesses and be heard in a very noisy marketplace? How do we stand out? Well, we stand out by becoming thought leaders. And you become a thought leader through content marketing, through giving value for free out to the world, through podcasting, through writing, through events, through public speaking. There's all these different elements. And just as a reminder, our sister course is called the Boiling Point Process, which you have a discount code to get into. I strongly suggest it. It's a really affordable course, but we go much deeper on those elements about how to become a thought leader as an entrepreneur. You don't have to be a filmpreneur to take that course. This is a great course for anybody who's interested in using these different creative mediums to get their message out and to share value with the community. And in episode and course module number 9, we talked about making impact. Not only making profit impact and making business impact, but making social impact in the world. And with that, I discussed some of our social impact movement films like Systema, The Paramount, Millennial Dream, Code Kids. These are all films that by now you've had a chance to watch and we've been able to discuss and really learn from. And remember, folks, this is not about making Oscar or Emmy award-winning projects. In some cases, the work that we're all going to do is going to win awards and get accolades. But really what we're doing is telling stories through a visual medium, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be engaging and truthful and authentic, and it has to touch people's hearts. That's the most important thing. And when we're trying to make social change happen, we really need to connect with people's hearts. So don't worry about the perfect color correction or the perfect sound mix. Worry about how is this truly connecting? How is this story serving the greater good of humanity and the planet? And video 10, module 10, we talked about the love economy. And just as a reminder, the TED Talk that I didn't even talk about the TED Talk, but this whole concept of the love economy came out of my second TED Talk. And the part I didn't talk about was I visualized our current economy is like a box of Jenga. When you take Jenga out of the box, it's got a certain height and a certain width, and it's strong, it's stable, it's not going to fall over. But the point of Jenga is to take a block from the bottom and the middle and put it on the top, and you keep doing it. You keep doing it until the tower gets really, really tall. But what happens when you take limited resources from the bottom and the middle and keep on growing something up the way we are with our economy is the structural integrity starts to weaken. It becomes compromised. Eventually, as you grow something taller and taller by taking limited resources, it topples. And that's the way we see the greed economy working currently today in the way we've been using and misusing capitalism. So when I expressed that in my TED Talk, I showed the video of Jenga. My daughter was doing a Jenga thing and it toppled over. And I suggested a new model, which would be a new economy that's based on love. And love being decisions, business decisions that honor all parts of the supply chain, people, the environment, creates an inclusive economy. Everybody in the B Corp world, the social venture network world, and the impact space are building businesses on the love economy platform. And all of us as filmpreneurs, if you've made it this far through the course, I think you pretty much get the agenda of what we're trying to do here. We're trying to create, if you will, a love army of creative storytellers who are armed with cameras and the ability to tell important stories, to connect with people's hearts, to help them live and lead really powerfully impactful lives. The 11th, I talk about measuring what matters and really just summing up everything that we've talked about to date. And here we are at the very end, folks. And what I want to close off with is an invitation to continue to engage. So already you've been invited to the Filmpreneur Summits, and we're going to continue to have events all over North America and hopefully soon in different countries as well. But I invite you to see if coaching is an option for you. At Hemmings House, we've got a lot of phenomenal production coaches. It might be specific to directing photography or to producing. There's a lot of different elements of one-on-one coaching, to group coaching, webinars, masterminds. There's a lot of different products that we're building here at Filmpreneur. I want you to stay closely in touch with us on our weekly newsletter that we're going to continue giving you. And thank you for giving up your time for learning this way. This has been a real fun way for me to be able to share my knowledge with all of you, but I really acknowledge the fact that this takes time. And I'm really hoping that you give us feedback on how this has been. How can we make this course better? This course is going to evolve and iterate as time goes on, because we're going to continue learning as Hemmings House grows and as we're able to share the ups and downs of that experience. But it's critical for us to hear what worked for you and what didn't work in this course. So you've got many ways of connecting with us. Love to hear feedback, constructive, positive, negative, whatever it is. We just want to make bigger impact by supporting people like you as filmmakers, as filmpreneurs, to make the biggest impact you can with the stories. So thank you again. Stay in touch, and we will see you at the Filmpreneur Summit coming up. Make sure you get your tickets immediately because they will go quick. Limited tickets available. Talk soon.